Right, okay. Welcome to a very fun-filled and packed class this evening. We've got lots of extra guests with us today. So welcome everybody from Norfolk this evening, and of course everybody else. So we've started our 10-week course on reflections and looking at nature and trees. So last week we were doing lots of pencil drawing, and we were exploring using things like a putty rubber and a blending stick as well. Tonight you can finish those things off. However, we are also going to be looking at pen, and somebody mentioned, oh, but it's biro, and yes, it is biro, but it's also, we're also going to be using a rollerball as well. And tonight the idea is to experiment with those different techniques and draw a new picture. So I sent out a load of pictures on the drive a few days ago. So they're there for you to access. There's also a new worksheet as well. If you haven't, or if you just want to have a practice with the pens and so forth, then there's this worksheet, which is a tree that you can experiment with the line making techniques that we're looking at here. So it's a way in to explore the techniques before then moving on to do your own drawing. Based on one of the pictures that I've supplied. If there's a picture that you saw last week that you wanted to have a go at in pen, then please go ahead and do that as well. If you want to use the grids to help to enlarge, or even just to copy the image to make it more accurate, then use that technique that we tried out last week as well. And we should have a lot of fun messing around with pens this evening to learn how to create some really nice different effects. Okay, so we'll go over to the desk. Here we go. Okay, so I was going to show these first just to remind everybody what we've been doing. So last week we looked at this really lovely picture of a willow tree, and one of the things I pointed out about that was how we've got the really lovely lighting in here. So one of the important things about that is to make sure that you've got plenty of contrast. I talked to a student in Kimbolton just the other day about making sure you shade the background. The inside of the tree is nice and dark, but also the contrast around the outside to make that kind of glowing effect on the tree is really important to have that contrast in there. And then look, you can see just down here we've got these nice kind of sunbeams coming. One of the important things that I highlighted to everyone was also there's a difference in the way we use the marks as well, the mark making and things. So down at the bottom here we've got to get this effect of the water and the ripples and the reflections and so forth. Again, it's important to have that contrast, but also the horizontal lines are the things that help to create that kind of flat surface effect. And then, of course, the contrast that I just mentioned. I like to do things like put little dots and things on the surface as well, to sort of mimic the idea of little things sort of sitting on the surface of the paper and so forth. I'll just see if I can get in a little bit closer on this one, just so you can have a little reminder. A lot of this is very similar for the pen. Obviously, though, a pen is a little bit different in that it's a bit more permanent and so forth. Yep, there's somebody. So you can see the lines are going across here, and we've also got lines going downwards as well. So really lovely stuff we've got going on there. All right, now I've just realized I haven't been over to the wall, but I'll do that in just a second. So also last week I tried to get rid of as many of my photocopies of ducks so that people could have a go at using the different techniques on here. So if you're still doing your duck, carry on with your duck as well. And if you remember, we use that grid system to help divide the space up and then draw in, the details of each square or rectangle to get the accuracy in the picture. Okay, but if you didn't want to do that, you had a photocopy of a duck. All right, I'm going to go over to my wall because I completely missed that out. Right, so here we've got loads of really nice examples of pen drawings that you can, if you want to, you can try out just copying one of these, because it is a really, really good way to learn about other artists' drawing techniques and so forth. So if you've got a copy of one of these, or if you're in Norfolk and you haven't got any copies of anything, you could perhaps go to the drive and bring up the images yourself on the drive on your phone and work from that. That's a really good way to sort of avoid all the photocopying and pictures and so forth. Okay, so this picture here, this is my favorite one this evening, although I do really like the other ones as well. So this is by and for the life of me I can't remember his first name, but some of you might. His name is Tunnicliffe, a really famous wildlife artist. But I really this one sort of drew my attention because it's got the reflections in the water, and you can see what looks like a church in the reflections. I'll just come in a bit closer. But then we've got the effect of the water. So there's the little church look. And then in the background, we've got the lines going across for the ripples. But going against a little bit what I said earlier, we've got these vertical lines, which creates an abstract reflection of what's above it, which I think works beautifully. And just looking at this makes me want to go and draw it myself. I do believe it's probably an etching, but for line techniques and so forth that we're looking at this evening, it's absolutely perfect. So we've got all the quite defined leaves, the fence and so forth. And then if we look at the fence just below, you can see that it's much more looser and hatched than the detail, and the same goes with all the leaves and things up here. But even though I said the lines go vertically, we've got lines actually coming across, or like leaf or ripple shapes going across there as well. And then down here we've got this really lovely picture of the bird, the swallow, I believe. I think it's a swallow, diving down onto the water to take a drink. And then these shapes going in a different direction over the top of the vertical lines works beautifully as well. All right, so I think it's a great idea to have a copy of one of those, or even just to copy a section of it, which is what I suggested last week. So I've got a few other pictures here. I'll just pick out one more that is really, really good for reflections, and it's this cloudy one just here. So I'm just going to move it to the top so I can bring that up. See if that works. Oh, a bit higher. Hold on. There we go. That should do it. So I just think this one is amazing. The thing about this is it's not necessarily exactly the same, of course, as the real thing. But we've got this amazing use of lines around the clouds, lines in the sky, and then this lovely circular shape going back over the top of the clouds as well, which I think is amazing. I think it's beautiful. So if you're brave enough and you want to have a go at that one, have a go at that one. And there's one more. I don't think I've got it actually, but this one's quite nice too. Let's bring that up. So this one, I don't know who the artist was, but again, you've got this kind of flowing motion and you've got the shape of the tree underneath. So a really beautiful use of line to show reflections. And we've got some darker areas and then some lighter branches in the background there as well. So it's a wonderful sort of effect, I think, and one that is worth having a go at. Okay, so now what I've made for this evening is this worksheet I was mentioning. So it's this tree. We've done trees a few times, but they're such a good subject for experimenting and having a practice with drawing techniques. So at the top of the worksheet, so the worksheet's now on the right here, we've got rollerball techniques, and at the bottom we've got my favorite, which is the biro techniques. And in the middle there's an empty space where I've just put a very loose outline of the tree for you to have a go at putting some marks in yourself. So that might be mimicking what I've done. It might be using some of your own ideas to create that texture. So if you haven't got that sheet, it is online for you to download as well on the website, and on the there's a link on the website to it. So if you haven't got that, then it's probably just worth carrying on with another picture. Okay, so I'll show you it on my desktop again. So here's my desktop, and let's just get a better view. Come in a bit. Doing a lot of clicking around tonight. There we go. So you'll notice the difference between the biro and the rollerball in that the rollerball pens are much more of a nice black, whereas the biro pens are much more reflective on the surface. But the difference is that you can do much more refined techniques with the biro, and the pen, the rollerball pen, is going to be much more kind of a definite, clearer kind of mark as well. So I'll zoom in once more so I can do just a few bits on here. So the rollerballs are pens like this. These are really cheap versions. You can buy expensive ones, but I still really like these. And you'll want to have a copy of the picture on your phone as well, or the worksheet if you can get it. And then, because I've already drawn in the shapes like I did last week, you can work into, by looking at the image. Let me just move that over a bit. So I'm just looking at this area here, and on this tree there's some really lovely lines that kind of go around the surface of the tree and create the 3D effect. So the direction of the lines is going to really help you to create a really nice kind of shaped tree. And of course, alongside that, building marks on top of each other, layering them over each other, is going to build up darker areas and more texture. One of the things I really like to do as well is add in some looser, kind of more carefree marks, like dots and things, to help loosen myself up. It makes me feel good to do dots for some reason. So we can come right the way around like this. So it's about layering those lines up, but also trying to recognize where the dark and the light areas are to create that 3D, really nice 3D effect that we're looking for as well. So that, and then the biro pen, you'll find if you're using both, you'll find that they're much more finer. So it's got, I mean, biros have got a little ball in them at the front, but they're designed differently, so you can get some really fine marks, as you know, some of you know, and you can use them in lots of different ways as well. Now, one thing we're going to do later on is we're going to start using some watercolor as well, combined with the pens, which is one of the things that we mentioned that we wanted to do. So one of the pens, the rollerballs, tend to be, they're not waterproof, whereas the biro you can work back over the top of. So we may be looking at getting some waterproof pens, or using biro, and then multiple layers of watercolor on top and around and so forth on watercolor paper if you've got some. And then one of the things that, that was what I wanted to talk about with the art wall here. There was one picture which was quite interesting for mark making. I think it was this one just here. And I called it swans. I think it's swans that are on the top there. Let's see if I can find it. Move it up a little bit. There we go. That should do it. Yep. So this one is amazing for the mark making. So if I get, this is obviously the sky here, but if we get right into the detail, you can see how the sky has been created. It's basically been done like this to create a tone, but the way the pen has been used is something you might not expect, because the artist has put something of themselves into the work as well. So not only is it a beautiful picture that shows a scene of these swans with some reflections here at the bottom, we've got a little bit of the artist's ideas and techniques, or as I said on Wednesday to the class, it's kind of a vocabulary, if you like, of techniques that you build up over time. So, and there was a few like this on the drive as well that you could have a look at if you wanted to. So you can see there's different approaches, such as Tunnicliffe's work and this example, who I don't know the artist's name, I'll try and find it out, but there's lots of different ways to approach that. So going back to the desk before we get started. So that technique that you just saw me showing you, I've done it really lightly, just in the middle of, or just behind the tree. And it's created a very soft tone just behind there as well. But my personal language, if you like, is I love to sort of work quite loosely and almost like scribbly, with, especially with things like this, because it gets a little bit of energy into the work and a bit of expression as well. So these are like almost like little scribbles and things like that on the tree trunk. Okay, right. So what I'm going to be doing this evening is I've got this picture just over here, if I can get hold of it. Yeah, that one. Just got to lock the screen. There we go. So this one I've chosen this evening. It's quite a simple picture, but the reason I chose it is because it's quite simple, I can start to apply some different ideas to it, such as the ones I was just talking about earlier. So with the Tunnicliffe picture that I've got over here, we saw all these different uses of line to create the directional marks and so forth, or to create the effect of the reflections. So I'm going to try and do something like that with the water down the bottom and the tree and the sky and so forth. So I'm going to be creative with the mark making that I do. If you're thinking, well, I need to develop these ideas for myself, then it's a great place to start, is to have a copy, to do a copy of either a section or a whole picture. Okay, right, I've nattered on for ages. So if you're all ready, you can get started. But if you've got any questions, let me know. Okay, so I chose to do this picture of a tree.
because there's a simplicity about the tree, and the reflections there's a little pool at the bottom where you can see quite a clear reflection, and because it's so simple, it gives a little bit of flexibility with experimenting with some different line techniques, which is what I do here. So as you can see, I started by trimming the outside of the picture, folding it, and then creating this grid that you can then draw the shapes in the right place on the sheet of paper into the grid. So each square individually is drawn into from the photograph. So I'm just looking here to get the good sense of the basic shapes and where everything's going to go, and the features and everything else. So we've got some grassy bits in the foreground, etc. And then here we go, putting in the basic reflection. So what I do here with the reflection in a few minutes is I start to add some extra details into the reflections to create this sense of the water. So not only is it a mirror-like reflection in the photograph, but it also has a few kind of ripples on it and other sort of mark making to really bring out that sense of the reflections in the water as well. And we could see that a little bit on Tunnicliffe's artwork, just on the little bit of it on the left there, on the right, and the photo on the left. So I decided to stick with my idea of using the horizontal lines for this one. That includes the reflection itself, so going directly across, and not being too careful with the edges or anything like that. So it's got kind of a rough edge, like the water's been slightly disturbed as well. And then I do actually use some vertical lines to draw as well. And this was me just talking about that picture with these really crazy reflections in it. And then, yeah, so there's the vertical lines for the edge of the pool. So often the edge of the pool is a bit darker than what's above it. So the reflections are often slightly darker, but and that helps to give it that sense of depth as well. And you'll see me hopping around a little bit on the image because I like to sort of get a sense of what's going where, and trying out little techniques here and there as well, and then coming back to it later or in a few minutes later with fresher eyes and so forth. So we can already see, and we've got this kind of, rather than that mirror reflection on the photo, we've got a distorted reflection with some lines going across to give us that sense of the flat water. And then much looser marks for the grass in the foreground. And then I do change it as we go towards the background. I'm not sure how far I get in this lesson with this one. I don't finish it, but in a short while I do swap to a biro as well. And there we are, putting in the tree trunk. And so also the tree trunk itself is very kind of dark. It's just a silhouette, but I decided to add some marks into that as well to create a little bit more texture in there too. So we can see how what I was talking about before is the artist puts a little bit of themselves into the work as well. So, you know, my way that I use the pens and so forth is maybe different to other people's. Something of yourself always comes through in your work. The more you practice, the more clear that becomes. So there we have the branches of the tree, and you can see me now just sort of putting in some extra marks and so forth on the bottom of the tree to give it a bit of grounding, and then start to put in a few leaves. Now this is the bit where I start to explore the background which is this sort of very, very soft mountain, because it's much further away, of course, but the effect of the light in the image has this lovely soft effect to it as well. And you can see that I've not just done it all at once, I'm building it up in layers. So we talked about layers in the last lesson with a pencil. So I'm building it up again, very gradually. And I do a lot more on this in the class on the next day. But you see how the tone becomes much softer and gradually starts to reveal our mountain in the background as well. And then I decided the ground needed a bit more tone, so we get a bit more contrast between that and the mountain. And add some more marks in there as well. So we've got two different materials there. We've got the rollerball pen, which is the really dark areas, and then we've got the softer area with the biro pen as well. So I don't think I'll get much further with this evening. So I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I hope you're having a go yourself. Remember to have a look at these artists and how they do reflections, and then take some inspiration from that for yourself as well. But it's wonderful to spend that time just looking closely at something and maybe using a bit of, let's call it mixed media. So we've got the biro and the pen, the rollerball pen. There we go, a little bit more, another mountain just up there in the background. And then we've still got that sense of light, and I work a bit more into the background in the following lesson the next day. I'll show you it next week. Today's lesson, and hopefully taking part and having a go. If you've got any thoughts about techniques and things like that, or there's an artist that you've come across that you'd like to share on here, please leave a comment. Leave a comment below. And a like. That'd be marvellous. Okay, well, take care everyone, and I'll see you in lesson 3 next week. We're going to carry on working on these drawings before we start playing around with some watercolour. See you later.